Hello everybody, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and it's done, folks. It's all over. The Improbable versus Unity fight that has been going on for the last week, it is done. Or at least as far as I can see it, it is resolved at least. And basically, to put it in the simplest terms, Unity backed down, and as a nice kind of clarification here, they also updated their terms of services to be much more developer friendly. So if you are a Unity developer, this might have kind of caused some question marks for you, but the end result is a much nicer environment to work with. So let's go through this one last time. I'm going to do the quickest top level did not read kind of recall of this entire scenario. I will toss all the links down below, but basically about a week ago, SpatialOS came out and said, we're being shut down by Unity. They pulled all of our license keys. They say we were in violation. Unity came back and said, no, they're full of crap. This is complete BS. And then Epic came out, trolled them for fun, launched a $25 million fund in partnership with Improbable to port people away from Unity. It has been an interesting go. And then just yesterday, which I just did a video on, Spatial came out and actually clarified that they're not using any of Unity's technology. They are just a hosting company. And to kind of refine this all down into the simplest possible terms. Basically, what Unity did is they updated their terms of service, and they have been for quite a while now, so that services, so that people like Amazon GameLift, or in this case, Improbable, that aren't licensed through Unity, can't host your Unity projects. It basically put this, we want money or licensing fees in place for authorized cloud services, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. Improbable didn't play ball, and then it kind of pulled into this huge dispute. And now no sides in this played completely clean. Improbable misled their customers, and Unity created this entire problem in the first place by what basically looked like a greedy attempt to monetize cloud services. So where did we resolve all this? Well, just this morning, they did update their blog. And essentially, they're kind of undoing everything they just said while clarifying a few things. They're not putting it out this way. Over the last week, there was much confusion and untrue statements were raised that we refuted. I haven't seen a lot of refuting, to be honest. I've seen some walking back and changing of policies, but this did look like a cash grab by Unity that got their hands smacked and also made people look closer at their terms and services and go, wait a minute, this don't make any sense. But anyways, let's just not argue over who said what when and who was the villain and who was not. Let's look at the future and how things are going forward. So basically, they're going forward with their pricing model. They are not changing things in terms of the way they license on the browser or in the cloud. But what they've done here is they've updated their terms of service. The section 2.4 was updated, and there's one really big change they also made on top of that. So first off, today we updated our terms of service section 2.4. The language is at the bottom of this post. The terms of service update highlights that developers can use any third-party service that integrate into Unity. Some of these services will be supported, others will not. The distinction is that with a supported service, we understand the technology. We make sure the service and Unity work together for developers. We also ensure that supported services always run well on the latest version of our software so we can future-proof your project in Unity and ensure access to the latest tech. Additionally, we have created and will continue to create our own services. We will integrate our own services that we will not block developers from using competitive third-party services. Now, that is the giant walk back, because that is exactly what they just did to Improbable. They shut down Improbable pretty much going forward, so you were just not able to use it anymore, and that is not really the case anymore. Now, what they're moving now here into is more of a works with Unity type licensing program. And if they had that all along, if they had a marketing deal and that's all that this was, none of this would have came up. But just shutting down somebody because they were one of your competitors and weren't paying you money, that was shady. And I think that's where most people stood on this. So now what they're doing is basically they're making it so they have a certification process. You're certified or you're not certified. And I can almost guarantee you Improbable is not going to be certified, but they will not be blacklisted. Their keys will be reverted. Everything is going back to normal. Now, the big thing here, and this is the huge one, and this one actually kind of came to light in this entire fiasco, is the lead developer of the Unreal Engine, or the founder of the company. He actually came out and said and reinforced that this would not happen in Unreal Engine because Unreal Engine doesn't retroactively change their terms of service. So if you commit to a given version, if you download 4.20 version of Unreal Engine, you are under its EULA no matter what happens going forward. So if Unity or Unreal Engine goes down a road that you disagree with or that isn't compatible with you, you're just stuck on that particular version. Since you actually have access to the source code, you can make bug fixes and changes on your own. You're just not going to be able to get new versions unless you agree to the updated terms of service. This is a very reasonable approach to things, and this was not what the case was with Unity, which this whole fiasco kind of showed. It showed a lot of developers, hey, wait a minute, they can just change the rules on the fly and screw our, in development game completely. Can we rely on this technology stack? Well, there's the big change that's come of this, other than, clarifications to their EULA in general. Now, when you obtain a version of Unity and don't upgrade your product, you'll be able to stick to that version of the TOS. So it's sort of the same thing. Once you've picked a version, including LTS, or basically the patches for that version going forward, you are bound by the terms of service of that particular version. This is an infinitely more sane approach. The nice thing here is, then again, if Unity make a change, a business model change, or a marketing change, or a licensing change that isn't compatible with your company, you are not screwed completely. You're stuck to a particular version, and you're a little bit more stuck than you are in, say, Unreal Engine land, where you do have code access, but it's still, this is a much bigger improvement over the existing system. So now they do have perpetual EULAs bound to each version of their engine, and that's a win for everybody. That is definitely an improvement right there. And then we get into, how does this apply to Improbable? Today's change means that Improbable is no longer in breach of contract by providing you a service. That means we are able to reinstate their licenses. We do not consider them a partner and cannot vouch for how well their services work with Unity, as we have no insight into their technology or how they run their business. So as I mentioned earlier, don't expect them to be friends anytime soon, but none of this, you're shut down because you don't agree to our changes crap that they pulled in the past. And since we know that Improbable was in violation even before the December terms of service updates and misrepresented their affiliation with us, now that is a completely different argument. If Improbable was making it sound like they were partners with Unity and they were kind of misrepresenting that fact, well, that's a completely different thing, and that would have played out in a completely different way. And that is not what any of this argument has been about until now. So there is a little bit of goalpost moving here by that particular comment. Although SpatialOS is not a supported third-party service, it can continue to be used for development and shipping games, and I am going to just assume, again, their licenses are reinstated, so it should be business as usual for Improbable. Now, I don't expect to see them promoting each other's services anytime soon, but the fact that Unity is now a competitor and are in partnership with Google to provide the same kind of services that we are seeing from Improbable, I didn't really expect that anyway. So they went from, I guess, they were friends, now they were enemies, now they're frenemies. I don't know where we stand in this one, and realistically, I don't care. I don't think Improbable cares. I don't think there's going to be a lot of love lost between these companies, but the nice thing is you can now have a valid ecosystem in which you can build on the Unity stack and not be screwed by, them deciding to move into your business space. I do think there is a little bit, again, of doublespeak going on here from Unity, where they're dismissing it like this was all an entirely huge misunderstanding, while they went about and actually changed all the rules, like the perpetual license and that kind of stuff. So this wasn't just a big understanding. This was a glaring hole and a blunder by Unity, but they at least walked it back. So for that, I applaud them, even with the spin they're putting on it. So section 2.4 is now much clearer and much simpler. So now we've got Unity developers are free to use any service offered to Unity. Unity developers are free to offer to use any service offered to Unity developers, each a third-party service. Unity does not have any obligation to provide support for any third-party service provider or third-party service under this agreement, and that's never been the case anyways. So third-party service providers may not, without Unity's express written permission, use a stylized version of any Unity name, trademark, logos, images, or product icons or other Unity-owned graphic symbols, use a product name confusingly similar to a Unity product or that could be construed by Unity developers as being a Unity product or service, or create or use any marketing materials that suggest an affiliation with or endorsement by Unity. All uses of Unity's trademark must comply with Unity's trademark guideline. So there you go. At the end of the day, basically, it is now a licensing issue. It is not a technology issue. You can run and host and have your game code running in whatever environment you want, but if you want to have usage of their product and branding and so on, you now need to have a special licensing agreement with Unity. And I don't think anyone's going to fault that. You're going to have it still. SpatialOS is still going to have their product that's SpatialOS for Unity. And I can't see that on that level, they can't go after them on a trademark violation, or that is just dick move number 3. But I guess that could be the next particular squabble. And I can't see them going down that road or being that particular about their... That would be like an aftermarket wiper company making Rain-X wipers for the Chevy Impala, and then Chevy coming out and saying, oh no, you can't use the name Impala in defining what your product is for. I can't see them going there, but basically you can't make it look like you are officially or endorsed by Unity unless you are endorsed by Unity, which I think is common sense and is a pretty traditional way. Now, if you saw this before, the old version of this license agreement was a completely different beast. Basically, it said you couldn't use any authorized service other than ones that they authorized themselves, and then there's this weird ambiguity about streaming. So the old version of 2.4 stunk. So the difference between these two is absolutely night and day. And I think we can basically put it to rest here. I'm a little disappointed in Unity for not coming out a bit and saying, yeah, we were a little draconian here. Yeah, the existing EULA was, overly broad, and we overreached here. And, being a little bit more, I don't know, apologetic is the wrong word, but in this whole saga, there were no people completely in the right, but there was one company that was completely and firmly in the wrong, and that company was Unity. And I'm not seeing it in any of this. Like, this is we know that they were in violation. It started off by there was much confusion and untrue statements were raised that we refuted, but I never again saw that refutation, and I still don't see how they were in violation, except for the fact that you had a way too overly broad or overly aggressive set of conditions in the first place. So anyways, it's over. So there's one last piece of news that goes along with this, and that is that there is a Reddit AMA, or Ask Me Anything, coming up this afternoon or this morning at 10 a.m. PST or 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with the CEO of Unity, who coincidentally used to be the CEO of Electronic Arts, as many people love to point out. Basically, he is going to be answering any and all questions. And I was going to wait for this, but in all honesty, I think this is a settled matter. I think Unity's clarifications make 100% sense. Their policy makes 100% sense. Their walkback and reinstatement of Improbable is the right course of action. This overreach is done. The clarification on the terms of services for each version of Unity lasting in perpetuity, including LFS support, or LTS support, I'm 100% satisfied with their answer. I don't like the process we came to get here. I don't like the politicking and the mudslinging that has gone with this, but the end result is ultimately a good thing. First off, we have better clarification. We have long-term support on what it means for Unity developers. They cannot do retroactive EULA or terms of service changes, which is definitely a positive development, and we're basically back to the way things were for services, except for it clearly looks like Unity is going to start having official partners and co-branding and that kind of stuff, and that I'm 100% in support of it. And if that's what this all was from day one, and then they just said, no, they're using our trademarks and such without our permission, as opposed to saying, kind of dishonestly, that they're exploiting and using our technology. Those are two completely different arguments, and this would have all been avoided if it had just started and ended that way. That would have just been a contract dispute, and we could live with it. But this was nasty, but it ended up, I guess, for the best. You either learned that, Unity's EULA is more developer-friendly than it was a week ago. You got a bit of an eye-opener about some of the perils of working with a closed source stack if you haven't already, and we all have access to the same technology we did a week ago, and any of the Improbable game developers, people using Improbable's technology, well, you have stability again. Everything is back to normal for you. So in the end, there is much rejoicing. It is done. Thank God. So I don't think that John could actually say anything at this AMA that is really going to change the scenario. The clarifications are all good. Not saying he won't say something to start a whole new news story off, but I think hopefully we are at the end. I don't see any outcome here that matters. Improbable is up and going again. Everything is clear now. There's perpetual license. The end. I think we're good. And if you have any more comments, do let me know down below. But I think Thank dog, this story is done. All right, goodbye for now.